Tonight on News 5 Live, unions demand the removal of phantom workers, excess allowances, and even the financial secretary himself. An auto dealer cries foul on new vehicles, and a murder is recorded in the Old Capitol. These stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
In these challenging times, the one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety, and we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Preventing the spread of COVID-19 at work requires that businesses of all sizes and sectors put safety and health first. Managers and employees should conduct risk assessments to identify critical areas and procedures that put lives and businesses in danger. Here are 6 tips for creating a safe and healthy working environment. 1. Identify potential sources of virus transmission. 2. Determine who might be infected and how. 3. Discuss and decide prevention and control measures. 4. Make sure the safety equipment being used is right for the situation. 5. Implement, communicate, and test measures. 6. Keep records, review measures, and update when necessary.
We must all do our part to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
For more information, visit www.covid19.bz. A message from the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize in collaboration with the International Labor Organization.
That's the sound of fuel efficiency. Every day, every time, I choose Una Fuels powered with Dynamax. Una, a brand committed with the future.
This newscast is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Wednesday, March 17th. I am Marlene Cuellar. First, the unions said both the UDP and the PUP had not done their jobs properly when in opposition. Now, they've called out the financial secretary for his own contribution to the fiscal disaster now confronting Belize. Joseph Wade has been the FinSec for 3 consecutive administrations. Despite this, the unions want him out. And not only Wade, but all of his staff over public service retirement age. News 5 was there when leaders of the Belize National Teachers Union, the Public Service Union, the Association of Public Service Senior Managers, and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize revealed that Wade failed to prepare public financial reports twice a year for almost a decade. PSU First Vice President Dean Flowers says this responsibility was mandated in 2010.
Problems cannot be solved with the same mindset that created them. So for decades, we believe that the same prescription has been used over and over to solve a recurring problem and mismanagement and no accountability. And so we're saying changes must come. And for that reason, the joint unions received a very strong mandate that we are to call for the removal of the financial secretary and his accompanying staff, especially those that are over the age of 55. Why the financial secretary? In 2010, we knew we had a problem. We knew we had a problem under the Musa administration that ended in 28. And the IDB came in to assist us, and that's why they passed SI 95 of 2010, the Fiscal Transparency and Responsibility Regulations of 2010. That regulation would have been given us, or the objective of that regulation was to force the financial secretary to give us a snapshot of government fiscal strategy and government fiscal position twice a year. So we were to have been receiving a fiscal outlook mid-year review report and a final budget outcome report. Detailed in that report would have been government expenses, government revenues, government assets, government liabilities, and also the assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenses of every single statutory body out there that government is giving money to, and we don't know how they're performing. We have no clue how most of these revenue-generating statutory bodies are performing. We don't see the publication of any financial statements, similar to us not seeing any where the government finances is concerned. I think the last statements for the government were 2014. So it is our view that the financial secretary has breached, not breached, but he's in violation of the SI, of the law, similar to the former prime minister, and he needs to be held accountable. Because if in 2011, had the financial secretary come and give a snapshot of a financial position of this country, as he should have, we could have been monitoring this financial mess real time, real numbers, because the regulation also calls for him to publish it in the Gazette and to publish it on a government website. The regulations also requires of him to give detailed explanation whether or not there was a deviation from the budget, how much that deviation was, explain how it will help or hurt the country, so that from 2011, twice a year, we would have been cautioned and shown the numbers.
According to Flowers, SI 95 of 2010 also demands that the FinSec gives a report of the total number of permanent and temporary employees in the public service system. The unions also referenced the Ministry of Natural Resources, which has been famously described as a hotbed of corruption. They called for the replacement of Central Bank Governor Joy Grant, whose critical role, they say, is to ensure that the country does not lead down a path of debt unsustainability and mismanagement. Also, they're asking for the replacement of Auditor General Dorothy Bradley, who is, quote, failed to address and audit those high-risk ministries in government in which corruption has thrived and continued to thrive, unquote.
When last have you seen an audit report coming out of the Lands Department, which from 2008, when the Barrow administration took over, we've been hearing has been the hottest bed of corruption. Why hasn't the Auditor General gone to the Lands Department since 2008 when the fire sale away properties were discovered under the previous administration to identify the leakages and to continue to monitor that department? We know that there have been, every year, somebody in the Treasury Department get catch, they pay dead people pension. Why hasn't that loophole been plugged? We talk about ghost workers on the payroll. Who is auditing the government staff list? Who is auditing the government's? You have dead people, not only on government pension, but dead people. They collect salary every 15th and ending. That's the role of the Auditor General, that our last backstop. And you'll always hear the excuses. Well, we don't have this, we shall. That's neither here nor there. You're being paid to do a job. We believe that better competence is out there where the central bank government is concerned. And so we're asking, look, not to get competent people in place, man. This cronyism that resulted in that appointment, because we respect, of course, the governor, but we don't believe that she has the kind of experience and competence to make fiscal and monetary policies for this country. So we're saying let's make the tough decisions as well and put in place the right people that could lead us forward.
The unions are also asking for an assessment of the Accountant General's office in managing and producing timely and accurate financial statements. In its proposal to the government, the unions question the competence of the Accountant General and her support staff, saying the department has, quote, failed to do properly and timely reconciliation of government accounts showing government's financial position, unquote. The press conference held by the joint unions of Belize covered its counter-proposal to government as they fight cuts to public officer and teacher salaries and a 3-year increment freeze. But the unions also raised the issue of the high cost of government vehicles and the thousands of dollars in allowances paid to senior government officials. Here are some of their proposals to reduce wastage.
If we are serious about helping to bring back this economy, then we are saying to our ministers that they too must be giving up some of these things that they are asking us to give up. And so at this point in time, there is no need for any entertainment allowance. You can't entertain anybody right now. The gatherings are limited. Nobody coming from anywhere right now that we would have to be entertaining them. So we are proposing, and we are seriously and we are adamant about this, that our ministers should give up their entertainment allowance as well as their telephone allowance.
The current status of the fuel quota that is currently in place will remain, where they will be able to get their fuel on the government's bill. Since the vehicles will become the property of these individuals, they will also be responsible for the licensing of these vehicles, the insuring of these vehicles, and of course the general maintenance of these vehicles. So if anything goes wrong, they will be the ones who have to buy the parts for these vehicles. So we observed that lately a Lincoln Navigator was purchased. We know how difficult parts may be to get for that vehicle, but it will not be on behalf of the government to try to figure out how to get those parts into the country. It would have to be the owner of that vehicle to figure it out. So they would have to exercise a bit more prudence when they are purchasing these vehicles. We want to implement existing policies as it relates to the usage of the government vehicles for other public officers that are below the rank of the heads of departments or senior and other senior government officials and ministers, of course, where they will need to park all their government vehicles by 5:15 p.m. every day. And they would have to park them at specific, secured, identified parking areas countrywide.
The joint unions recommend that ministers, CEOs, HODs, and other senior government officials should purchase their vehicles. Ministers and ministers of state would get an advance to purchase their vehicle in the amount of $100,000 maximum. CEOs, $75,000, and for heads of department and senior government officials, there would be a cap on the advance of $60,000. The unions believe that enough time has not been given for them to properly respond to the proposals since the budget presentation is scheduled for next week, Friday, March 26th. They are asking that the proposed increment freeze and salary cut be, quote, put on hold to allow for proper consultations and negotiations, unquote. In its counterproposal, the unions have also provided government with cost-saving and revenue enhancement recommendations for short-term, medium-term, and long-term results.
A lot of times we hear these ministers before they get into power talking about what they will do and how they will fix. But we do not see the commitment right now of the PM or any of the other persons seriously willing to say, yes, I will give up. No worry, I will give it up. PM is saying, well, if we have to, then we have to. We are saying to you, the economy right now is showing you that you have to. And so there's no need for you to consider that anymore. Just give up those allowances and take some smaller packages, and we would be able to work with that, because those would save us a huge amount in what it is that we are trying to do to gain this 500 million deficit that we have. We also spoke about the foreign embassies and the resident ambassadors. And we thought that, we know that some of them play a critical role, and they do help us to have certain trade agreements and other agreements that our country can benefit from. But we also believe that there are some of these that are not necessarily needed to be resident. And so they can do the job that they ought to be doing without having to go to these places. And we want to be looking, we want to carry out an exercise to, on the diplomatic corps with a view to identify those embassies that would be considered strategic in realizing development and revenue generating opportunities, and to staff only those so determined with resident ambassadors.
The union spoke of tens of thousands of dollars being paid to duplicate public officers in the system. We're told that a social security number is attached but is not valid, yet a monthly salary is being paid to these phantom persons. The joint unions are asking for immediate actions by the government to enact the UNCAC, specifically as it relates to the whistleblower legislation and the illicit enrichment laws, so that those violators can be pursued and dealt with.
We know that public officers are aware of the many atrocities that occur on a daily basis, and so this would allow public officers to kind of like freely expose some of these wrongdoings and definitely create some cost savings. Definitely the streamlining of the wage bill and other government expenditure is also important. The joint unions also for the commencement requested for the commencement of a 3 to 6 months rationalization exercise, so that we could identify who are real public officers, so that we could identify the phantom workers and sort of like rinse ourselves of the unnecessary employment that is happening in the public sector.
A true picture on who the public officers are, rationalize where they are, all the anomalies that have been created in terms of salaries, the anomalies as it relates to an inaccurate staff list, deal with weeding out who does not belong where and wherever the excess is, and realigning how public officers are placed, and therefore we can then get a true picture to have a proper examination of the wage bill. And that would also include looking at the issue of allowances, because when you look at how much money is paid out in allowances, it's a huge amount. So if it is, it's rationalized and people are getting what they're supposed to get.
As we reported on Tuesday, Cabinet met at the House of Culture in Belize City in a marathon session to discuss a range of issues, most pertinently the joint union's response to government's proposals. Although the members of the media waited all afternoon for comment, at the end of the meeting, the ministers zipped past them in their vehicles. Prime Minister John Brisenia simply said that he would refrain from commenting until the negotiations were successfully completed. In other cabinet news, an update from the Ministry of Health and Wellness was presented, which indicates during the first phase of vaccinations has seen as many as 10,000 Belizeans inoculated at a rate of 600 persons per day. A report on the worsening fiscal position of the DSC was also presented, and a plan to introduce corrective measures was also put forward. Lastly, in seeking to realize $25 million in savings, Cabinet endorsed the development of a centralized procurement unit within the Ministry of Finance. Shots continue to ring out in Belize City. The latest casualty and injuries when we return.
As a new mom, there are moments of pride, joy, and doubt. Yes, doubt. Has he slept enough? Does she have everything that she needs? Will she be okay in the sun? These doubts come from love. For the good of baby, 2 servings of Nestum are full of all the goodness and naturalness of the cereals that your baby needs to blossom. That's one less thing to worry about. Nestum, it's all good, Mom.
Learn more online with Nestle Baby and Me.
Started getting ready for Easter yet? If not, to get the cash you need to hit the road, take a sip, and kick your feet up for your Easter adventures, apply online at quickstoponline.com or head on over to your nearest Quick Stop branch for the cash you need. As a first-time customer, enjoy your holidays with no payments until April. Offer ends March 31st. So let's get you Easter ready with a no-hassle loan from Quick Stop Personal Finance Center.
DG and the National Bank of Belize are proud to partner with the Government of Belize to facilitate the disbursement of Belize COVID-19 cash transfer funds via our safe and easy-to-use mobile pays platform. After getting approval that you will be a beneficiary of the relief funds, you will be informed by SMS when your monthly payment has been deposited to your mobile pays account, which Digistore or National Bank branch you were assigned to, and when you can go in to collect. You must bring along the phone that the notification was sent to in order to present your account number and to receive your validation code and SMS receipt. You must also bring along a valid Social Security card. After your information is verified, you will receive a validation code which you are to give to the agent. The agent will hand over the full amount of funds allotted to you for that month, and you will receive an SMS receipt with a unique number for that transaction. Digi and the National Bank of Belize are committed to the development of innovative services for the benefit of all Belizeans.
Durante la pandemia de la COVID-19, un lugar de trabajo seguro y saludable es un lugar de trabajo mejor. Esto reduce el riesgo de transmisión del virus entre trabajadoras, trabajadores y clientes. Los lugares de trabajo inseguros agravan los problemas durante la pandemia. Aumento de la carga de trabajo, jornadas laborales más largas, aislamiento, violencia doméstica, estrés, ansiedad y depresión. Trabajar de manera segura protege a las personas, permite seguir operando y mantiene a las comunidades saludables. Usted puede hacer la diferencia siguiendo los siguientes pasos: usando máscaras para cubrir boca y nariz, respetando el distanciamiento físico de 6 pies, lavándose las manos con jabón durante al menos 20 segundos, siguiendo instrucciones y señalización de seguridad y salud, quedándose en casa si está enfermo, diciéndolo si no se siente seguro.
It takes all of us to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
Para obtener más información, visite www.covid19.bz. Un mensaje de la Cámara de Comercio e Industria de Belice y el Congreso Nacional de Sindicatos de Belice, en colaboración con la Organización Internacional del Trabajo.
At Benquip, we offer a complete line of Honda products featuring the most trusted and reliable line of motorcycles in Belize. For outdoor and marine recreation, we have Polaris ATVs and UTVs, Volvo Pentamarine Solutions, Honda Outboards, and Best Sport Kayaks. When it's time to service your vehicle or equipment, you can find the brands you trust at Benquip. We carry a large inventory of Castrol oils, NGK spark plugs, and a full range of cleaning products from Magic. Get power when you need it with trade winds and Honda generators. For those businesses looking for increased productivity and a safe working environment, our proven and respective line of TCM forklifts will not let you down. We also have trimmers and lawnmowers from Honda and Husqvarna, so you can keep your yard and surroundings properly maintained. So visit Benquip today at 3 miles on the Philip Golson Highway to get the equipment, parts, and service you need.
There was a murder in Belize City on Tuesday night. A man in his early 20s was gunned down on South Side. While the shooting claimed one life, it has left the residents in the area shaken and traumatized. Reporter Andrea Polanco tells us more in the following story.
Tyreek Gentle was shot and killed on Elston Kerr Street in Belize City around 8 o'clock on Tuesday night. Gentle was reportedly standing in the yard when a gunman approached another man and fired shots at him. That person ran away from the shooter, but a second gunman reportedly came up to Gentle and shot him several times. He tried to get away and ran to the back of the yard. This blood on the ground marks the spot where he collapsed and died. It all happened so fast, according to Verla Gordon, who is one of the tenants at this apartment. She says she didn't see what happened, but the first 2 gunshots sent her scrambling for cover to protect her 4-year-old son.
I never think that something like this may happen last night because I never expect that this may occur at that time. I'm just long for my step to socialize with 2 of my friends, and when I hear the first shot, and I just take my baby and I throw him inside and I crawl in behind him on my knees where I'm so frightened because I never experienced something like this.
What was going through your mind as you heard those shots? What was the priority for you at that moment?
I made a worry about my baby and myself, and I had to tell the next lady who live next door to me, my neighbor, where she's on the...
When the shots stopped ringing, Gordon says that's when she realized someone had been hit. But she says she was so shaken up that she didn't go out to see who it was. Today, she says she has no idea who Gentle is or why he was in the area. But what she knows is that the magnitude of what happened in her yard has left her reeling and afraid.
When I come outside, then I know that somebody get hurt and somebody did because I see the crowd and I see the police and I stand up there and I'm so frightened, so I don't know where it take place. Because I'm frightened because it could happen to anybody. Because like I text my baby pa and tell her, and then he say, well, I'm there, tell her I'm there inside, and I still up to this man, I still don't step there and I did cry because I said, my baby only 4, probably my baby get hurt or me.
Gordon has been living in this apartment for less than 5 months, but the traumatic and deadly incident is enough for her to find a new place to live. She says that had her baby been playing in the yard like he usually does, today could have been a different day for her family.
Last night, one night, I chose not to make him come downstairs, because if he come downstairs, maybe he probably may get hurt. I never even want to sit down on my step no more. That evening time nor night time. As dark the look for setting, I going inside because I know it could happen again and my baby or me go get hurt. So I don't want to stay outside. I'm afraid it's our open yard where anybody could go through. So I don't want to live here. No more because I fear for my life and my baby, because he's only 4 years of age.
Information to News 5 is that the killers got away from the scene in a vehicle. Reporting for News 5, I am Andrea Polanco.
And while Tyreek Gentle lost his life on Tuesday night, another youth is in the hospital as the gun violence continued today. Percival Pilgrim was shot multiple times just before 3 p.m. on Bannock Street in Belize City, when a shooter approached him and fired several shots in his direction. Pilgrim was hit in the head and abdomen and rushed to the Carl Hischer Memorial Hospital, where he underwent surgery this afternoon. We're told that he was hit as many as 10 times and his condition is critical. Another person was also shot during the incident, a 16-year-old boy who suffered injuries to his arm. It's unclear what led to the shooting, but information to News 5 is that Gentle and the teenager are both members of the Bannock Street gang. After the break, a returning Belizean is skeptical about a COVID test at the PGIA. Was she duped? Or was it an error you too may want to avoid? Find out when we come back.
You've worked hard your whole life building your future, your family, your business, your home. And when you aren't around to safeguard your most beloved assets, you are at ease because you know they are protected by RF&G Insurance. For over 50 years, RF&G has been making sure business owners get back to work after an accident, and families get back into their homes quickly after a natural disaster. At RF&G, it's you who matters most. Visit us today and learn why it pays to get it right. RF&G Insurance, a Rowe Group company.
One group, the UDP, wrote the long book on Belize's current economic disaster. One man wrote the final chapter, Dean Barrow. As we approach the 2021 budget, let us remember why Belize is messed up and broke, with 120,000 people looking for work. This new government will fix the Barrow UDP mess. Together, we will bounce back better.
A workplace that is healthy and safe protects you and those depending on you at home. Prevent the spread of COVID-19 at work by following these steps. Always practice safe and healthy habits, like keeping your work environment clean and disinfected. Adapt working conditions and methods to reduce the risk of infection. Use personal protective equipment properly at all times. Speak up if you do not feel safe, because your safety and health is the priority. Frontline workers are exposed to a higher risk and need particular attention. Cooperate with and support them.
It takes all of us to stop the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
For more information, visit www.covid19.bz. A message from the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize in collaboration with the International Labor Organization.
Prepare
hands and raise it up. No, we cannot get enough. Lighthouse, shine on. Shine on with Lighthouse Lager.
Ubuntu. I am because we are. Strengthening social solidarity and global connectedness. Ubuntu is the theme of World Social Work Month. World Social Work Month recognizes the profession of social work and highlights the important role social workers play in their communities. Social workers are essential and are the unsung heroes. As social workers, we strive to empower those from all walks of life. Our tools are compassion, service, and determination. Our armor is a love for humanity. With persistence in the face of insurmountable odds, we help clients access services and systems to achieve their goals. No matter the circumstances, we jump into the fray Ubuntu. As we celebrate World Social Work Day on March 16th, the Ministry of Human Development, Families and Indigenous Peoples Affairs and the Government of Belize thank all social workers for their compassion, sacrifice, and dedication to service.
Lab technicians across the country are being trained in the detection of severe fever-related illnesses, including COVID-19, using modern technology. A partnership between the Ministry of Health and Wellness and Baylor College of Medicine in Texas has led to a cohort of lab techs learning how to identify a variety of diseases using samples from persons suffering from fevers and gastrointestinal symptoms. The training is being conducted at the Central Health Region. Dr. Chrissy Murray, a professor of pediatrics at Baylor, explains.
A little over a year ago, we began implementing the acute febrile illness surveillance network. We have 11 hospital sites throughout the country participating, and essentially if a patient comes in with any kind of febrile disease or gastrointestinal symptoms or respiratory symptoms, we collect samples from them and we test for 52 different pathogens. So very, very comprehensive testing that's also very quick. So we have a turnaround time that we aim for within about 2 to 3 days to get an answer for the patient with what it is that they have. Because from a treatment perspective, that's also really important. It was really nice to have started this before the emergence of COVID-19 because we had this fantastic infrastructure in place, new equipment, new technology, the capacity to be able to expand to include COVID. And so we were able to actually very quickly react and begin surveillance for COVID as part of this complete network throughout the country.
Prior to the partnership with Baylor, Belize's capacity to diagnose certain illnesses was limited, and the turnaround time for samples sent abroad for testing was rather lengthy. What the technicians are also learning is how to detect other variants of the COVID-19 virus.
Before we started this, capacity here was quite limited in terms of the technology. A lot of the samples, if they needed a diagnosis, they would have to send out of country to get tested. The time to get those results back was long, and the resources to be able to do it was limited. With this, we're able to do much more expansive testing, look for things that you might not otherwise think of, and really get a good picture of what's really happening in the country. Actually, what we're able to do now is look at who has antibodies against COVID-19. So what we're doing upstairs is looking at healthcare workers in particular. So of course, they're incredibly high risk for exposure to COVID-19. We want to make sure that they're protected. So these are the baseline samples before they got vaccinated, and we can look and see how many of them had already been exposed to COVID. And then once we have vaccine on board, which has all been happening over the past couple weeks, we'll be getting another sample from them to see is that antibody response robust enough to protect them. It's a very long, very expensive process to do sequencing. So right now we have, I think, around 26 that we've gotten really good sequence results from. But already in those 26 samples, we have 2 that were the UK variant, and then we also have a couple that are a different variant from the main majority of them. So what that's going to allow us to do is go back and track and see who these individuals are, and especially where they were so that we can tell, is this something that's a concern? Is this a new variant that's spreading? And again, with the vaccine, are we protected against this variant in particular?
71-year-old Gwen Jackson, a Belizean American visitor, arrived at the PGIA this morning, where she was required to present a negative COVID-19 test result. Believing that the document she presented to local health authorities was valid, the New Yorker grew livid when she was asked to take another test, which she had to pay for. As it turned out, Jackson brought along with her the results of a rapid test. According to the elderly woman, she was only swabbed in one nostril before being allowed to leave without the test result. She believes she was duped out of her money.
I had my COVID paper less than 72 hours. A so-called doctor, I don't know who he was, tells me that this expired, and it was 11 o'clock in the morning. 72 hours supposed to be midnight on Wednesday. And he directed me to go to someone to get a swab and to pay $100 to go and take a test. And when I went for the test, they did one nose and direct me to go to someone else to stamp my paper, paper that I fill out on the plane. And from that on, no, they told me to go home, go to the immigration and go home. And up to now, I leave the airport, I pay $100, not even know the result of the test. So I said I have to do something, because I have a feeling they've been doing this to many, many people, but not everybody have the nerve to show up to explain what really happened to them. They go along with it.
This evening, News 5 spoke with Dr. Melissa Diaz-Musa, Deputy Regional Health Manager at the Central Health Region. She reminds visitors that rapid tests are valid for 48 hours only, while PCR test results are valid for 72 hours. If you thought the controversy over gill nets was over, think again. The latest when News 5 returns.
Start your year with a win with Bellikin and its new promotion, Papa Stopper. Yes, sir. Every time you pop one stopper off our Bellikin, make sure you check under the crown. If you see one bottle shape, you win one free Bellikin. If you see one ball, you win $20. If you see one star, you win $100. And once you see one diamond, you win $1,000. Sure, Bellikin again, you know. Papa Stopper. When you pop a stopper off a Bellikin, check to see if you're a winner. You can collect your free beer or $20 cash prize at the store nearest to you. If you win $100 or $1,000, redeem your prize at the nearest B&B sales center.
Promotion is valid until Saturday, March 27th or while supplies last.
Papa Stopper!
Bellikin, the beer of Belize.
Congratulations to our Bellikin Papa Stopper winners to date. Continue popping those stoppers off of Bellikin for a chance to win free beer, $20, $100, or $1,000.
Papa Stopper!
Bellikin, the beer of Belize.
Un lugar de trabajo seguro y saludable protege a usted y a los suyos en su hogar. Todos debemos implicarnos y cumplir con las medidas para prevenir el contagio del virus. En el lugar de trabajo, practique siempre hábitos seguros y saludables y mantenga los lugares de trabajo limpios y desinfectados. Adapte las condiciones y métodos de trabajo para reducir el riesgo de contagio. Utilice correctamente y en todo momento el equipo de protección personal. Si no se siente seguro, dígalo. Su seguridad y salud es la prioridad. Los trabajadores de primera línea están expuestos a un mayor riesgo y necesitan una atención especial. Coopere y apóyelos.
It takes all of us to stop the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
Para obtener más información, visite www.covid19.bz. Un mensaje de la Cámara de Comercio e Industria de Belice y el Congreso Nacional de Sindicatos de Belice, en colaboración con la Organización Internacional del Trabajo.
Hello. Okay, sure, I'll be there.
Hi, Mommy. When are you coming home? I really miss you.
Hearing the voice of our loved ones can always lift our spirits and make us feel whole again. With Smart's twice as nice promotion, prepaid customers who make 5 minutes worth of national calls on Sundays can enjoy 50% off. Top double on all national calls for the rest of the day. Call your loved ones and enjoy half off all day long. Smart, bringing people together.
Gill nets will just not go away. Although a ban on the destructive fishing gear was signed into law last November, aside from the nationwide gill net ban, government signed an agreement with Oceana and the Coalition for Sustainable Fisheries to help licensed gill net fishers transition to other sustainable forms of livelihoods. But 4 months later, and the issue hasn't gone away. On Tuesday evening, Oceana Belize and the Coalition for Sustainable Fisheries issued a joint press release saying that there is a move afoot which is threatening that gill net ban. According to the two entities, illegal gill netters are lobbying, and the Ministry of Blue Economy is in the process of mediating before the matter gets underway in court. Today, these organizations spoke with the press about the concerns moving forward, including that there may be a reversal of the gill net ban.
In response to a lawsuit that had been filed, the ministry was moved to alter the ban, and that there was only one point that they were not moved to acquiesce to. So we felt it imperative as Oceana to share then that that would have ramifications, particularly and immediately to the fishers currently benefiting from the transitional support, as well as the wider community, because certainly the fact that an inherently dangerous and destructive gear is out of the water benefits far more people than just the immediate beneficiaries of the transition program. So we reiterate, we want to have that meeting. Once we have that conversation, that the ministry will be fully updated and informed in terms of everything that is in place and where there may be gaps in terms of what has led to certain confusion will be filled by that information that we have been documenting throughout.
The importance here is we're putting some focus on the ministry, but I think the real focus should be on the Fisheries Department. Regardless of which government is in power, the Fisheries Department has the mandate to protect the resources, the marine resources of this country, and make sure that all who are beneficiaries of these resources receive equal and fair access. The coalition just wants the opportunity to make sure that all the information is on the table, that the organizations are the Coalition Oceana, as well as the fishers who are benefiting from this $2 million of transition funding are heard, their concerns are heard, the history of what went into getting here is put on the table, and that we can work forward, because we are aware that it was not a perfect process. There were some hiccups along the way, and we need to look forward as government and the NGO community, as well as the wider tourism sector, who were huge supporters of financially of this ban, to make sure that we can pick up whoever may have been left behind.
But tonight, the Ministry of Blue Economy says, hold up, that's not what is happening. Earlier today, the ministry issued its own press release to counter the joint statement from Oceana Belize and the Coalition for Sustainable Fisheries. And by this afternoon, the ministry had called a virtual press conference. According to the ministry, the lawsuit is being filed by gill netters who feel they have been marginalized and left out of the process, which has impacted their livelihoods. According to Minister Andre Perez, they recognize the ban, but they will engage those who feel that they were excluded.
To say that we are under some kind of secretive talks that we want to lift up this ban is not true. What we are trying to do is find common ground, which is important. That while we acknowledge that the NGOs have assisted us by offering financial compensation to the fisher folks or the fishing community, there is someone out there who says that they have been left behind. Now, we have nothing to do with that. But if there is someone out there who feels that they have been disenfranchised by this gillnet ban, this is every right of a Belizean. If you feel that your rights have been violated, they have a right to seek redress in court.
What is the position with the ban, sir? Is your ministry in full support of it, or what is the position from the government of the day?
The government position of the day still stands, that we will always advocate what is there, that the gillnet ban exists. But we also are advocating that we must be working with all stakeholders in place. We must making sure that whatever is there to be given off to our fisher folks or to the Belizeans on a whole, that it is done in a fair, transparent, and equitable manner. And this is where our concern is, that, and perhaps might be to the point that the lawsuit is coming, that certain people or some of our Belizeans may have been marginalized.
Coming up, the union's hard line does leave some room for negotiation. Find out what they say they might be willing to compromise on after the break.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, a safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace. It reduces the risk of infecting workers and visitors. An unhealthy workplace makes problems that are common to a pandemic even worse, such as increased workloads, longer working hours, isolation, domestic violence, stress, anxiety, and depression. On the other hand, a healthy workplace protects people, allows businesses to continue operations, and keeps communities healthy. You can do your part by following these steps. Wear a mask that covers your mouth and nose. Stay at least 6 feet away from others. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Look out for and follow all safety instruction signs. Stay at home and away from others if you feel ill. Speak up if you do not feel safe.
It takes all of us to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
For more information, visit www.covid19.bz. A message from the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize in collaboration with the International Labour Organization.
Research on the impact of COVID-19 infection on pregnant women is limited. Right now, pregnant women are at higher risk of severe illness than the general population. Pregnancy can affect the way a woman's body handles respiratory infections. If you are pregnant, protect yourself against COVID-19. Wash hands frequently using soap and water for at least 40 seconds. Use alcohol-based hand sanitizer if soap and water are not available. Cover cough or sneeze with tissue and throw used tissue in a bin. Clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces such as doorknobs, counters, phones, and tablets. Practice physical distancing. Work from home if possible. Avoid contact with anyone who has fever, cough, and cold or flu-like symptoms. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth without first washing your hands with soap and water. If you have fever, cough, and feel extra tired, call 0800 MOH-CARE. Help keep Belize safe.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
Prevenir el contagio de la COVID-19 requiere que los negocios de todos los tamaños y sectores den máxima prioridad a la seguridad y salud en el trabajo. Los gerentes y empleados deben realizar evaluaciones de riesgos para identificar áreas y procedimientos que ponen en peligro las vidas y los negocios. 6 pasos para crear un lugar de trabajo seguro y saludable. 1. Identificar posibles fuentes de transmisión de virus. 2. Determinar quién podría estar infectado y cómo podría infectarse. 3. Discutir y decidir las medidas de prevención y control. 4. Implementar, comunicar y testear medidas. 5. Asegurar que el equipamiento de protección es adecuado para cada situación. 6. Mantener registros, revisar medidas y actualizarlas cuando sea necesario.
We must all do our part to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
Para obtener más información, visite www.covid19.bz. Un mensaje de la Cámara de Comercio e Industria de Belice y el Congreso Nacional de Sindicatos de Belice, en colaboración con la Organización Internacional del Trabajo.
During today's press conference, the joint unions also responded to comments made that public service and the teachers have not made any sacrifices. The unions maintain that its members have. But are they being inflexible? APSSM President Sharon Fraser says that until after all cost-saving measures are exhausted and there is still a gap, then the unions may then be willing to reconsider its position. Here's how she explains it.
The joint unions were of the position that we may be amenable to sacrificing an additional year of increment. You notice I've said may, because in fact it is conditional on the understanding that government would engage in continuous dialogue with the joint unions. It would mean that, in fact, we would have to monitor the implementation and the results of the cost savings and revenue enhancement recommendations and proposals that have been made to government. It also means that we and government would need to ensure that monetary and fiscal discipline is put in place in relation to all of this.
Well, was preferential treatment afforded to a particular auto company in the recent procurement of vehicles for the Ministry of Health and Wellness? That is the allegation being made by Caribbean Motors upon learning that a fleet of 6 pickup trucks had been purchased with the approval of the Ministry of Finance. The unproved assertion comes amid a commission of inquiry by the Briceño administration into the disposal of government assets, including ministerial vehicles, at rock-bottom prices in the months leading up to the November 2020 general elections. In a letter written to Contractor General Omar Mitchell on March 12th, Chad Dietrich, the managing director of Caribbean Motors, claims that Belize AutoZone was selected as the supplier of 6 Mazda pickups without going to tender. The total cost of the vehicles amounted to $357,000. Not only is Caribbean Motors the exclusive distributor of the Mazda brand in the country, Dietrich also asserts that Belize AutoZone is not even an authorized vehicle dealer. The letter goes on to say that since the bidding process was disregarded, the choice of Belize AutoZone as supplier contravenes existing good governance practices, as well as the rules of fair play. Moreover, the company, in light of the economic difficulties, contends that the vehicles could have been purchased at a cost that is much lower than the $59,500 spent on each truck. Caribbean Motors says it also has the same model vehicles in stock, therefore no foreign exchange had to be expended, considering the scarcity of US dollars at this time. In responding to Dietrich's letter late this evening, the Ministry of Health and Wellness says that, in fact, 7 quotations from different companies were reviewed. The quotes were then evaluated and recommendations were made to the Ministry of Finance, which did not object to the contract being awarded to Belize AutoZone. The release from the ministry ended by stating, quote, "It is unfortunate that Caribbean Motors, who has been the beneficiary of government contracts, would seek to defame the Ministry of Health and Wellness and denigrate a small Belizean business in this manner," unquote. Overcrowding, ticketing, erratic schedules, and buses that have seen better days have long plagued our country's public transportation system and caused headaches for commuters. Now, Belize may be getting some help from a country that also had to modernize its own transport system, South Korea. Today, the Ministry of Public Utilities, Energy and Logistics announced a technical cooperation program with South Korea with funding from the International Development Bank. Components of the project include a full policy and legal review and update of Belize's public transit system, including improved bus routing, scheduling, and ticketing systems. Management and supervision of the public transportation system will also be improved through training and institutional upgrades. The project will be led by the newly established Transport Planning Unit that includes Transportation Planner Eric Sanchez and Administrative Officer Trudy Joseph. The technical agreement grows out of recommendations made in the 2017 National Transportation Master Plan, also funded by the IDB. And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at News 5 Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.